Here we go. Okay, I always hate how I have to wait to see myself come up to make sure it's working. Hello, and welcome to Ask the Right Questions. This is your boy Slim, and over there is Race the Raposa.
The Raposa.
He's fresh off escaping hell.
My job.
He
He
decided
wants
he
to.
officially escaped.
Oh, yes.
He wasn't sure until 10 minutes ago. I'm the first to hear that he fully escaped. He didn't even know he escaped. How did you not know, Race?
I don't know. I was having an existential crisis there. I'm like, I don't think I can do one more week.
Do you think it's official?
I think so,
Are you
yeah.
making this official because you're being recorded?
I know. I didn't know you were going to bring it up so that it's on record.
Because I want it on
Now,
record.
now I really have to make a decision.
Now you can't back down now.
I can't get any distractions from it.
No, you can't get distracted. Leads us into it. You're gonna have
Yes.
to avoid distractions now.
Yes. Yes.
So you could tell everybody how come you need to avoid distractions now, Race.
Well, I want to make a living as a full-time artist and playing video games and
He he
searching for
he just
music.
he just tacked that one on. He'll
Playing
play
video
some.
games, watching a lot of films, searching for music. None of that pays the bills.
No, that doesn't pay the
Creating
bills.
creating things does.
I decided that everything, I said it a couple months ago, anything but creating is a waste of time.
Well, you need inspiration.
Well, if I
You're going to
was,
run dry on ideas
I'll
eventually.
say if I could be a full-time artist, there would be a couple hours of inspiration. Then you go into creating. I give a couple
Mhm.
hours of inspiration because I'm not really a morning person.
Yeah,
I like to
me either.
wake up and take a bit. But there could be a couple hours that if I was full-time, but I'm not, so
Hmm.
my mind's always cranking at work anyway, on my work. So so now when you talk about why did you constantly seek distractions, Race?
I have a lot of different interests. I have too many interests, and I enjoy keeping up with all of them immensely. If I could be paid to just indulge in my interests,
Isn't that
that's
what
all I would do.
isn't that what everybody wants?
Yes, um, but I could make it to where I would never get bored. Um, at all, it's like I would always be in college or always be at the library. Um,
You'd always be at the library because you're on
like,
the
well,
internet.
like
You're,
I know the
you-
internet is the
you're
library.
saying if you were back in the 90s, you'd be at the actual
I
library.
Yes, yes, I probably would be. Yeah. Um, and yeah, I mean, I just I don't even know that I'm making myself unproductive. I'm just absorbed into whatever I'm looking into, whatever I'm interested in. And that's been the biggest issue with like getting myself to do something other than there's anxiety, laziness, life stuff that gets in the way or whatever, but that not making money off it right away that can um, make it a little unmotivating. Um,
Well, since you touched on you have a lot of interests, I guess I could spin it into that way. I was always creating, but I would get distracted by another something else I wanted to create, and I would abandon the whatever I was working on.
no, that's me too because like when I read a lot of comics, I wanted to make a comic. When I watched a lot of animation, then I really wanted to make animation. Um, when I played a lot of games, and I want to make all those things. I want to make a game, a comic, a film. When I got into photography, I wanted to keep doing that. like like I could create all these things and be happy. Music, I created music for a while. I still love to create more music someday.
I still think the best, I don't know, if it's like me, the best thing to do is to find a multimedia project. Then you can tie it all in.
I,
That's what's worked out for me.
well, I think your career as an artist can be a multimedia project.
It can be if you're making single pieces.
I'm
The
actually
thing is,
surprised to see a lot of artists actually do both. They do audio and visual art. Um, I think even Richard Williams said that animators are usually very like musical people.
because
And
you
he had
want to
been,
follow to a beat.
yeah, and he had
Your
been animating
animation.
his whole life, and he started playing jazz later on in his life. He's like, oh, this was my real passion.
I don't know if I have the patience to learn to learn music. It's a very
I
tedious
want
thing.
to.
It's very tedious. It can be
I
very
want to.
tedious to
Yeah, you'd have
perfect in
to.
that.
You have to have a lot of patience.
I certainly don't have the patience to learn an instrument, I can tell you that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's because you can't actually create anything right away. You have to learn to play the actual instrument before you can do anything.
Yeah, yeah. You have to learn techniques and
Because
stuff and music theory.
if I'm learning to draw, I can puke up a piece of crap at least at first
Hmm.
along the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's still something on the page. You can't even make a song. You can't make a crappy song at first. You can't do anything.
yeah. But it stinks because we're in the age of distractions, endless
Everything.
distractions.
Well, the entire internet is trying to compete for your attention. It's millions of distractions are out there.
Hmm.
Billions and billions upon billions, right, of distraction.
Billions upon billions of
So just they're all out there floating around, and they're all competing for your attention. So you'll support them on Patreon.
Yeah, I know. And somehow we got to compete.
You gotta you're competing as another distraction. That's what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
trying to distract you, so you'll support us on Patreon or
Um.
Subscribe Star, the new one race. I don't
Um.
know where that was going.
No, whatever Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin are making, I'm gonna go on. But
Okay.
I mean, I'm hoping it turns out well. I
Oh,
trust them with it. But
I would prefer people hand me their Bitcoin.
that'll probably be part of it. I'm sure that'll
So,
be built in.
well, since we're off topic now, but back. See, we just got distracted, Race.
I know. No, we get distracted easily on this show. Ironically.
But the why do you seek your
Well,
distractions, Race?
it's
Well, I'll say in 2017 I had a mental breakdown, as Race knows.
uh-huh.
He didn't hear from me for months, and
Uh-huh.
I just spent all my time sitting here reading slash playing visual novels. People use the word playing for them, but I disagree. But I was reading slash playing visual novels nonstop, trying to be distracted from my sorrow.
Hmm.
During that time, that's
Um
why it was. But other times, just because, like you say, I'm just interested in what Tim Pool and how many times Tim Pool will say he's center left in his latest video.
yes. Yes. My brain's getting distracted by so many things right now.
But you're gonna tell us how do you get distracted, Race?
Bring me back. Bring me back.
I'm reeling you back.
Well, the internet is deadly for people who like to procrastinate. It's deadly if you do have a lot of interest, if you're just naturally curious in a lot of things, which is the problem I'm having. Because basically, it is a library at my fingertips, the world's biggest library at my fingertips all the time. And if I find something interesting, or if I stumble upon something interesting, that leads me down a road of a whole bunch of similar things. Well, if I like that thing, then I'm going to like all these 5 other things that I just found. That happens with music. I mean, when I first got Napster, again, I didn't even care about music when I was a kid, but I got Napster and I found the White Stripes I saw the White Stripes on TV. I looked up the White Stripes page on Napster, and then it said related artists. And it was like 10 or 20 artists. And that's like most of the garage rock bands that I found back then. And then they had similar artists because they're a little bit different than the White Stripes. And they might have some other bands that are like them. And it's just, it keeps going and going and going. And the same thing with movies. When I started watching video essays about films and all the different like hidden messages and things that you can put in film and cinematography and all the different aspects of that. Color, camera angles, composition, different lenses, what they do, like it just kept snowballing into, okay, that's interesting, let me watch this video about that. And then I started getting into directors and their whole career, and then you can just like, okay, well, that director that made that one movie you like, he has 10 other movies. You can follow his career and you can read about each movie on Wikipedia, and you can look up videos about every one of his movies, and like it just keeps going and going and going, and you can be lost for a whole day just doing that.
Easily can. I've fallen down to the TV tropes wiki before, reading about all that. But that's called information overload.
It is. We are in information overload, not just because of that, but because of the news. And
the news cycle is now, that's absolutely 24/7. But
it's not.
Back in the day, you would just turn on Walter Cronkite at 7 p.m. and for an hour, and that was your news for the day.
It wouldn't. It's not just that it's constant news. It's constant spin cycles of news. It's here's the lie. Here's the left side saying this. Here's the right side saying that. There's always somewhere in the middle, but
it's the absolute. Because it's nonstop. I mean, stuff that would never be news is news. I mean, and then your favorite political commentator makes a comment on it, and that's now news. Just him making his comment.
Yeah, I mean, there's internet drama.
E-drama.
What drama?
E-drama.
E-drama.
E-drama. There's drama within drama.
There's political stuff that goes on, obviously, and then there's drama that can form around that. And I mean, keeping up with that is a headache. You want to stay. I don't know. Having to stay informed with that all the time, like full time, would drive me crazy.
Well, during the 2016 election, you know how in deep I was. Everything went on hold for that one. Now I've just had to force myself to disconnect from the political landscape some, and it's still hard to.
It is.
It's still hard to because it follows you.
It does, and
also I want to know how close to the end we are.
Well, it's like your Facebook is like an endlessly scrolling newspaper.
That's why I need to get off their race.
Yeah. And well, Twitter is too, and
I'm off of there. YouTube somewhat. I went and purposely subscribed to some music channels, so it would be partly music because it's easier to just turn that on and get into some art or writing of my own while it's playing.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's half music, has some video games on it, which I can fairly easily ignore. But there's still a little bit of politics in there.
Oh my god, I just thought of that. It's an endlessly scrolling newspaper.
Yeah.
It's a deadly time to be a procrastinator. Like it's amazing that that's all there right at your fingertips. Like
It's
it's
amazing in a
incredible
way because
technology.
like I needed to research a little bit of horseback riding tonight with my story, and I was able to do it easily. And in that
Oh,
way it's great. Or if I need to, if I just need to learn something about drawing, it's right there. I don't have to
I
go out
mean,
somewhere and find it.
if I want to learn how to animate a horse, I can just look up a horse
Instant,
animation online.
you instantly can find a horse running in full loop
Hmm.
as a GIF.
Yeah, I could even slow it down.
Everything, yeah, you can find any reference you want in a second. So
I mean,
you need to find the way to use it as a point of reference rather than as a distraction.
not to mention all the tools, the open source tools. I mean, the Restream, what we're using right now, was so easy to set up.
Oh, I know.
Way
All you
easier
do is
than I
sign
like.
up as an account and put in this code to just hook up your video, and that's it.
Yeah, you can potentially broadcast to millions of people right from your house, like at any time. It's and again, I mean, we grew up in like the transition to this, like like I started remembering things when I was like 5, so that was like 96.
Well,
And you just
we're
and internet was like connected to your phone, and you couldn't use it at the same time the phone rang. And
yeah, well, we very clearly remember a time before the internet took hold.
yeah,
Because I was still subscribed to magazines. I still picked them up at the store
yeah, me too.
as my news source for video games.
Hmm.
Video games is one of the first things online too. So I mean, people were discussing that before lot of other things online.
And if there's a mistake in one of those magazines, it's there forever. It
Yeah,
can't be fixed later on the internet.
I mean,
Um,
unless it was a total, unless it was something that was just terrible, they weren't going to bother correcting it in the next issue.
yeah, you have urban legends form around stuff that's in gaming magazines.
Well, especially during the month of April.
Yeah, yep.
Like, so it was easier to not be distracted back then.
Yeah, I think there's less possibilities
It's
for you,
always right there. Like I have
though.
Steam on my computer. It's like I can boot up a game at any moment. At a single moment, I can just boot up that game.
Yeah, the Switch is always sitting there, waiting for me to play it. Tons of games that I haven't played on it.
That's why some people still go totally offline so they can't be distracted while trying to do something.
Well, some people get stressed over their backlogs. I'm like, dude, you're playing games to have fun.
I did. Well, I
Why do
have
you need to be
backlog.
stressed over your backlog?
Well,
But
you do remember my backlog. I got my way through it over a few months.
yeah, well, again, I could spend a whole month just doing that and be perfectly happy doing so.
I play RPGs, so I could spend years.
Yeah, that's true.
Around 80 to 120 hours a piece. I could go more if you're a completionist.
You could even replay games. You could replay old games just to experience them again.
So well, you can. So in our case, a lot of it has to do with the information overload. But
Or
do you think it's true that for some people it is because they are running away from sorrows?
well, we know depression and anxiety is like way up
Uh,
compared to most times in American history.
I said it early on. I did play a bunch of ended up playing reading a bunch of visual novels
Hmm.
during my breakdown.
Hmm. And there's times when my brain does overload from stress and anxiety. That's like, okay, I can't do any. I can't create something right now. I need a distraction, and I turn on the game right away. Um, or I need to watch a film. I need to go somewhere else for a while.
Video games in particular do it for me if I'm upset because it requires all of your senses.
Uh-huh.
A movie is fairly passive, so I still
Right.
think during it. A game, it requires me to think to play the game.
I find a film like I I find a film more absorbing these days. I usually want to play games where I can also listen to a podcast. Um, those are endlessly interesting as well. Audiobooks, podcasts, and you can do those at the same time you're drawing or painting. And I actually find that I pay attention to them better when I'm doing something. If I'm just sitting there and listening, my mind can wander off. Um, but I think we're trying to escape depression in the modern day.
There's a lot of
I think people are unfulfilled in their jobs. The economy's stagnant,
there's
and
there's quite a few who they probably do it without realizing it. It just
yeah,
crash. You just crash, and you end up
and
doing that. For some, it's just a
so
cycle. They come home from work and they play a video game
yeah,
or whatever
yeah,
without
like
thinking
and if you really hate your job, like I do,
or did.
you're did you're holding in so much for like 8 to 10 hours. You know, you're holding in so much stress that you need to hide from your coworkers for the most part. So when you come home, it's a huge relief, and you're not gonna you don't want to work more. It's just sometimes it's not even in me to work more, even if it's something I love. Like my brain is just kind of done. Some people they don't have that problem. I don't understand how they do it. They're like super people.
What
Um,
they go to work and aren't bothered.
either they're but well, if they are bothered by their work and they still come home and work on their dream, then that's like I wish I could do that. But
Which is what I've been now doing, getting myself to
yeah,
do more and more.
I wish I had your brain then
Well,
to do that.
during work, my mind is cranking about the story I'm working on.
Hmm. Yeah.
Most of the
Yeah.
time, if it's a particularly busy day, I have to focus on my job, but I still come home and make myself do something.
I don't have a lot of opportunities to write things down if I get an idea during work, so it's like,
For me, it depends on the day. It goes up and down
hmm
because it's a sales job.
I would think of really good rap verses at work, and those are gone forever.
Put them on your hand. Just put them on your arm. Have a marker and just write it on your arm.
It's
What
too
I've been
late
telling you
now.
to do.
They're gone.
Well, you also gone from your job. You will never lose another rap verse again.
Well, maybe.
Well, keep a book next to your bed. You can at least get up and do it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Um,
There's no excuses anymore, Race.
that's true. That's true. But yeah, people are increasingly becoming more unhappy.
It's
Uh,
been proven using math,
yes.
statistics, whatever. It's
Yeah.
math.
They're out there. Statistics.
You could just look it up. You could easily find it. Just go Google it. You don't need a source for it. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I
What's
mean,
that
well,
video we had that's particularly good? What's that dude's name? The one I showed you the other day was about he titled it about Tucker Carlson and Ben
oh yeah,
Shapiro.
179L.
179L. I will put that one in the description
Yeah.
because he actually does
Um,
he touches on it particularly about Korea. But he's
yes.
talking about everywhere in general, but he happens to find them particularly about Korea because I guess
Oh,
there was
I
a
mean,
recent study there.
well, in Japan, they have fake relationships. They pay for fake relationships. I mean, you got guys marrying their DS girlfriends.
Like me.
Um, I mean, where people are the brain. I don't think the brain can handle all these virtual worlds. Uh, it's just too reality twisting. Uh, they you can easily forget about. It's like your real life is like on super hard mode, and the virtual world can be on easy mode.
Well, yeah.
And
Well,
I mean,
this is a form of escapism, right? It's
it's a form of
escapism.
escapism. Um, but I mean, it's hard not to blame people when the economy sucks so bad. When the cost of living goes up and wages stay stagnant, and you don't have a lot of prospects for.
Well, when you feel like you just can't escape it at all, I mean, you feel like there's no hope of escaping it.
Well, but I mean, when you look at the situation America's in specifically, um, I can understand it. I can understand just wanting to escape because you don't have like the road to marriage and a house is just like a mountain for our generation. And that's for a lot of reasons that a lot of millennials don't even understand. But like it's not going to get fixed overnight. Uh
Well, you worked your way through high school, you worked your way through college. Then it's like, now what?
well, then you got a massive amount of debt. Inflation goes up, the dollar goes
Yeah, to
down.
find the job, it's like well, it's you just get into it. It's like you just can't escape it. You just feel like you can't escape it. It's impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you got the baby boomers. I mean, there's a lot of
Even at $15 an hour, you still can't live, really, right?
yeah.
Still can't live.
No. I mean,
Well, it also they just won't give you enough hours to even get the money to live. Then it becomes work a second job, and then you're trying to schedule those two jobs.
well, we can also talk about the I think there was a book, The Coddling of America,
Yeah.
right? Where like the a lot of the parenting has been very like way too sheltering and
Well, life is very easy. Well, in a certain way. I mean, we grew up. Us growing up was a sheltered life, right? In a lot of
mhm.
ways, it was an easy life.
Yeah.
What problems did you really have playing Banjo-Kazooie, right?
I wasn't able to do that last mini game where you had to have the turbo button. Oh my God. What a nightmare.
You should have bought that Mad Catz.
That was the last jigsaw that I needed. That was the last jiggy piece that I needed.
You just got distracted, right, by
I
Banjo.
know. I gave up. It was too hard. It stopped being escapism.
Well, yeah.
No, well, it's just like there's. It's made us more sensitive, though. It
Well, it makes you more
maybe
sensitive
we don't.
when you became presented with a huge mountain of a problem. It's like, screw this.
Yeah, but like parents were getting more like they're doing more for their kids and making their
They
kids
were,
do things
yeah.
themselves.
Yes, yes.
And so I think that's what a lot of the like you can easily become a social justice warrior and just the term snowflake and whatever like you're like super sensitive to everything and and that can create more anxiety than there actually needs to be, you know? Like you can be like kids freak out over words in college campuses.
Well, yeah.
Um and that's causing them a lot of anxiety that they really don't even need to have in the first place.
So it
So,
really proves how easy you can fall into distractions or escapism. Because even minor problems feel like a mountain to us.
yeah, there's real problems and then there's problems that we're making up in our heads.
Yeah.
On top of that.
What was it? Oh, that article about burnout. Remember that one I linked? Or
Mhm.
I think Tim Pool mentioned it too about
You
how
mean,
millennials are the burnout generation.
yeah. Wasn't it about YouTubers too? Burning out?
I think it was written just about millennials being the burnout generation. I don't think it focused on YouTube. Oh, I got it right here. I'll throw it up on the screen quick. It's on W Burr 90.9. This one's on. Is this the? Oh, is this isn't it? It's the article. It's a particular article. It was a. Okay, this is not the news. Why is it all videos? It was written by a millennial. Millennials named the burnout generation. There.
Yeah, I
Oh,
remember what you're
BuzzFeed.
talking about.
BuzzFeed. That's what it was. BuzzFeed. I got it. So thank you. I can't believe I'm on BuzzFeed, but here you go, Race. See how millennials became the burnout generation. It's an essay by this woman,
Uh-huh.
Anne Helen Peterson. I'll put that in description too. But it's basically an essay about how even the most minor problems feel like a mountain. I think she brings up registering to vote or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
It felt, it's like, why bother? You know, it's like they know they should go register to vote. It's a fairly simple thing, right? I believe you can do it online in quite a few states, if not every state now, right? But they
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah, just talk about how they just like, why they just didn't do it.
I hate to admit that I'm like that though sometimes. Like I'm like that with doctor visits.
Oh yeah,
It's
I'm
just
like that
like,
with I'm like that with doctor visits, dental visits, anything that requires me. If it can't be done at the click of a mouse, I don't bother.
yeah,
Quite a few things,
I
right?
know. That's bad. I know.
Something around the house I'll do, but if I have to go out somewhere, it's
Ah,
like I'm not doing that. Well,
I know.
I will say around the house I will take care of something,
Hmm.
but actually having to get my ass out of the house and go somewhere, no. It's a big deal. It becomes a huge deal. I'm not going to bother.
Why though? Ah, why do we live like that though? It's a very weird time in history.
It is. It is.
It's very weird to be in this. It's a very confusing generation to be a part of.
I believe in her article, she brings up stuff that's at the click of a mouse. They don't bother doing it. For me, if I can do it on my computer or in my house, I will do it.
Yeah. Well, even just I'll get anxiety just calling up to set up the appointment. It's like why would I feel like that? Why would I feel this way?
I can't say I feel that part. It's the actual having to go out part that I won't do.
Yeah.
My dentist is now around the corner, so I do that easier now.
Oh no. Well, I get anxiety just calling up, and I don't even know what that's
I
like.
can't say that part. I mean, maybe I'm just I don't know. It's just like I don't. I guess I'm just such a homebody. You know what I mean? I don't really want to leave my house because like everything is here. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't want to take the
I
time away.
exactly. Anything tedious, it's like my brain needs constant stimulation, and anything tedious, it's like I want to stay away from as much as possible.
That's a
I think
problem.
that's
That's a
part.
problem I have with learning music. It feels too tedious to me to learn it. It's very repetitious.
Well, I mean, if and when I do learn music someday, I mean, when I make my first song, I'm going to be ecstatic. It's going to
Oh
be
well, yeah.
perfect.
No,
But
I realize this. I don't know. It's just not my. It's not my thing. I guess. Let's just put it that
I know.
way.
Yeah.
Maybe someday. I have had an interest in wanting to learn to write music because they do have digital instruments now that you can, basically you type in the music, the musical scales or whatever they're called. I don't even know the word for it.
Hmm.
But if you can type in, you can write the music and it will play it.
That's cool.
I kind of wanted to do that some because for my world building, what the music sounds like.
Yeah.
I've had some interest in doing that. Maybe at some point I will, but right now I'm
You can
trying to
always
build
come
everything
up with
else.
you can always record melodies and give it to a composer, and they do
Exactly,
some cool
but
stuff
they
with
do
it.
have virtual instruments now where you can type in the music, however music's written. I won't pretend to know
Yeah.
that, and then it will play it on the virtual instruments, and they sound pretty damn good nowadays.
Hmm. But I was getting I don't want to get too broad. I'm just like the paradox of it is like you need to support yourself and you want to be independent. And your parents, I mean, parents should have really pushed us more, right?
They should
As a
have,
gener
yes.
all like in general, the parents of millennials should have pushed us more in general. Um, at the same time, they didn't really leave us a good economy to prosper in easily as they did. They prospered in an easier economy. So we're put out into the world with where the cost of living goes up, the wages stay the same, and the value of the dollar goes down. More taxes are taken, and we're encouraged to go to college that racks up a whole bunch of debt. Sometimes those colleges are like vacations. You're just paying for a 4 year vacation.
Depending on where you go or what you're studying, yeah.
And public school is already very, very sheltering from it. There's nothing in public school that's like the real world, pretty much.
And
Uh,
it's all very, it's repetitious memorization
well,
in
millennials talk
school.
about not, they come out of school not knowing how to do anything. And then they go into college, and that's even more of a insulated like bubble.
Well, it also delays you starting your life. And a 4 year degree is so normal now, it's become the new normal. So you need to go for 6 or 8 year degrees, right? So it's pushing you out to the point of like you're 30 years old. You're almost
Yeah.
30 years old when you're starting your life.
Yeah. And people started their lives at 16.
And by that
Like,
point, by that point, your brain is finished developing.
so,
So
and
even on a purely evolutionary standard, your brain stopped developing by what, 24, I believe, something around there.
oh, I
Your,
think
your
so.
brain stops growing.
Right. And for women, it's even worse because they can only have healthy babies up to what, 35?
Oh, this person says 24, 25, yeah. So it's about the brain development, I assume.
Yeah, yeah.
By the
But I think for women it's like 35, like, or if you're getting close to 40, it's going to be harder to have healthier babies. So women need even more of a head start in starting their lives, and that pushes them out even more. Like,
yeah, the risk of complications starts going up at 35. My mom had me around her mid 30s, and I know they were worried about autism and such with me.
right. So you're delaying that even more too. Uh, you're we have a lot of problems with our generation. Uh, it some of it's not our fault, some of it is,
So
and that's
it's
the
a mix of.
contradiction where yeah, you're feeling guilty because you're still at home, and you're feeling frustrated because you're not independent. But at the same time, if you're going to go out there and try to make it on your own, you know how difficult it's going to be, so you don't even want to try. But then you're
It,
still stuck at home.
that's what
And
I've
your
been.
parents shouldn't be coddling you, but they are coddling you. And so, at least for me, my experience is a constant paradox and a constant frustration with myself. Uh, I think me and you actually understand like the bigger like economic things is not our fault, but a lot of millennials don't understand those bigger economic things are not their fault either. Like, and they're asking for the wrong government solutions. It's not to get into a tangent. It's just like it's like when you kind of sometimes millennials know a lot of this stuff subconsciously, you know?
Yes.
Like I think there's a confusion, but there's also a subconscious thing going on. And so this is like layers and layers of anxiety. And so why wouldn't you want to constantly be distracted by things? Why wouldn't you want to constantly escape into the hundreds of TV shows you can watch on Netflix, the hundreds of games you can play in your backlog? Uh, like why wouldn't you just give up? You know?
You actually touched on something that's what was a problem for me all these years in trying to start a career as an artist is the instant gratification because
Hmm.
it's a huge investment to start posting your work and nobody's looking at it.
Yeah,
You're not getting any motivation from it immediately. That was a
yeah,
big
it's
thing for
tough.
me, which is why I jumped between projects a lot for a
Yeah,
long time.
it's really tough. I
There's many
mean,
layers to it. It's probably unique for everybody. For a
Hmm.
lot of people, it's probably just a cycle of coming home and, you know, watching movies or playing games or whatever.
Right.
It's just what they do when they come home.
And it's endless. And it's a constant explosion of it at one time in history.
It is. It's because it's just everything that you could ever want practically is at your fingertips.
Look, everyone's playing games. I got to make a game. So everyone starts making a game. And now there's like hundreds of games to play every
Many
month.
indie games now. So many.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
so many.
And so much of it is good quality too.
Oh, it's also high quality on top of it.
Yeah. And the golden age of television, there's high quality TV shows you could just watch for hours and
It was
hours and
around
hours.
somewhat with Newgrounds. I mean, I remember going on Newgrounds a lot in middle school and playing those games. And they were quite fun as simple as they were.
So it's been a deadly combination. It's a very unique time in history. A lot of it's not our fault,
It's
but a lot of it is.
absolutely the era of distractions, a mix of it being the era of distractions and us just being raised in such an easy life in a lot of ways.
And then later on dealing with this like instability in just the country in general, the political system, the economic system. It's all unstable. It's all unstable. Everyone knows it, but everyone's too distracted to to really change it until it gets really bad where we can't be distracted anymore from it. So
So we're starting to repeat ourselves a bit now. So I
yeah,
guess
I
we can
know.
wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've hit the over the 40-minute mark. So is there any last words you wanted? No, there's a comment now.
Oh.
I think it all kind of depends on how high of a bar you put for yourself in life and what you want to do. If you let other people set that bar for you, you will most likely always be disappointed since there's always someone better looking, wealthier, or more well off. Celebrating mediocrity is a fine art. That's
Hmm.
from Sanctum Venenum.
Well, that's keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's a lot of that too.
Keeping up with the
I,
Joneses.
I haven't fallen into that pitfall. But social media can make you constantly compare your life to other people, and that can cause a lot of anxiety, and that can make you feel inadequate. And social media is kind of like that's what I was going to say. Like it's rewired our brains in a really bad way. Even the creators of some of the creators at Facebook even came out and said we kind of built a monster. Uh, like even when you scroll down on Facebook, it's meant to simulate a slot machine. So there's always
Yeah,
some
yeah.
something
It
new.
does when you think about it. It does.
Yeah.
It does really look
Uh,
like a slot machine because it keeps
even
loading.
the notifications, they were blue. Nobody checked them, but then they made them red. Everyone started
Everyone
checking them
checked
because
them
that's
because
because you're psychologically um, conditioned to be like, oh, that's the warning color.
yeah, yeah.
That's the alert color. Uh,
I guess for me about comparing myself, I've always compared myself as an artist heavily.
yeah.
I always have watching those classic cartoons. I want to be
You
that
yeah
good.
you have it to a sick degree.
I do. I just have a very sick degree. Well, it's partly that the image, like I said, the image is so clear in my head what I want, and I can't get it onto the page. It's so clear.
and
It's so
and you
clear.
need to get over the learning curve, and that
You
takes a lot
do.
of
You
patience.
do.
And
But now I found Lumez, his books, and that's done a lot to help my get more solid construction. But now I've also got VR painting with Anim VR and Quill, and that is for the first time in my life. It's come so naturally to me, that medium,
hmm
because it's sculpting and you can turn the object, and it's very obvious if something is off.
oh, again, that's more like we could talk about all the bad stuff going on, but that's one of the most amazing things going on.
It is.
I mean,
There is now you have more potential to get yourself out there. You actually have more options than ever and more potential than ever.
more
More
opportunities than
opportunities.
ever,
That's the word I'm looking for. More
and
opportunities than
and more
ever.
opportunities to be your own boss. It's just it's the market's oversaturated, and you're fighting for millions of people. You're fighting with millions of other people for other people's attention.
It's higher competition, but more opportunity
Hmm.
because of it. Because of it. All right. I guess
It's tough.
it is tough
We're
to
seeking
avoid
distractions for a
distractions.
reason. Things I don't know how things are going to change in the future. Um, I think people are going to have start having more mental breakdowns, and society's going to have to like reevaluate uh, where it's been.
Well, we're gonna have to
I think
adapt.
yeah, I think we're falling in the early pitfalls of technology, and hopefully in the future people will learn from them and be like, okay, well, we have to keep screen time limited. You know, we you can't just. They might even stop like maybe companies put a limit on how many TV shows they put out a year. You know,
I don't
like
know. I don't know. Some kind of self-regulate. We're all gonna have to
it's like
adapt. We're all gonna have to adapt.
just go to the 2010 the 2000s 2010 backlog. All they did was make TV shows back then. Just watch all those shows over
I
again.
guess so. So I think we could wrap it up here.
Hmm.
All right. Well, so thank you for joining us. We stream every Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch, YouTube, and all the other places that Restream.io supports,
Hmm.
Periscope, Smashcast. So we'll see you all next week. You can also like, subscribe, all that stuff.
Hmm.
You're supposed to say at
Do
the
all
end of the
that.
video. I always forget to say that because I never much like the repetition of people saying it.
Yeah, me either.
But
I
thank
feel like
you.
we should make an acronym for it. I was thinking of that.
Well, we'll have to have a question about that race. Well, thank
Yep.
you, and we'll see you all next week.